Shedeur Sanders going over 100, no one is going to argue the validity of that ticket from this standpoint, right? Like, you're going, and this depends. Like, if you're in Southern California, I got pulled over once on the 55 freeway. The 55 freeway sort of bisects Orange County, right? It used to be actually a road, but starts on Newport Beach Boulevard and then goes into being the 55 freeway and goes all the way up to the 91, which is like that takes you into the Inland Empire.
What happens when a sports media personality decides to make a speeding ticket about someone's entire character? Doug Gottlieb just crossed a line that has the sports world questioning everything. While defending one athlete for the exact same offense, he's painting Shedeur Sanders as the poster child for entitlement, and the receipts are more damaging than you think. This isn't just about going 101 in a 55 zone. This is about how the media machine operates when they want to tear someone down. Look, I've been watching sports media for years, and what I'm about to show you is going to make your blood boil. We're talking about a grown man who just admitted on air that he judges athletes differently based on their reputation. Not their actions, but their reputation. And when you hear how he justifies it, you'll understand why this is bigger than just one controversial take. So buckle up, because we're about to expose the most hypocritical double standard in sports media. And trust me, Doug Gottlieb probably wishes he never opened his mouth about this one. You know what really gets me fired up? When someone in the media thinks they can just say whatever they want and nobody's going to call them out on their BS. Well, today's that day, and Doug Gottlieb is about to learn that the internet doesn't forget that. Here's what happened. Both Shedeur Sanders and Zach Edey got pulled over for speeding. We're talking serious speeding here, over 100 miles per hour. Same offense, same reckless behavior, same potential danger to everyone on the road. But somehow, Gottlieb finds a way to defend one while absolutely trashing the other. Let me paint you a picture of what this man actually said, because when you hear it word for word, you're going to realize just how calculated this attack really was. Gottlieb starts off by setting the scene. He's talking about getting pulled over himself on the 55 freeway in Orange County. He's going on about how everyone speeds there, how 82 sounds fast, but really everyone's doing 85, and how, once you go over 100, you have no defenders. Fair enough, right? Sounds reasonable so far. But then, and this is where it gets absolutely disgusting, he brings up both cases. Zach Edey got pulled over doing 101 or 105 in a 55 zone. Shedeur Sanders went over 102. Same situation, same reckless decision, same potential consequences. But here's where Doug Gottlieb shows his true colors. And honestly, it's worse than I thought it would be.
But Zach Edey, there's no history of what people would consider arrogance or entitlement. And so I understand if you're sitting there going like, hey, why would you say Shedeur Sanders is entitled and acting entitled by going 100 miles an hour when you wouldn't say that about Zach Edey? Well, that's because I have 2 years of high major college football evidence where he's showing off his bling, he's trash talking and talking down to people who come from lesser means or lesser stature or what he's seen as lesser programs or lesser families.
When talking about Zach Edey, this man literally says there's no history of what people would consider arrogance or entitlement. So apparently, going 101 in a 55 zone is just a mistake when you're Zach Edey. Just a young guy making a poor decision, nothing to see here, move along. But when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, oh man, the gloves come off completely. Gottlieb doesn't just talk about the speeding ticket. No, that would be too fair, too objective for his agenda. Instead, he launches into this calculated character assassination. That honestly made my jaw drop when I first heard it. He starts talking about 2 years of high major college football evidence, where Shedeur is showing off his bling and trash talking. He accuses him of talking down to people who come from lesser means or lesser stature, or what he's seen as lesser programs or lesser families. Did you catch that? This man just took a speeding ticket and turned it into a dissertation about someone's entire character, their family, their background, and their supposed attitude toward people with less money. But wait, it gets worse. then starts speculating about what kind of car Shedeur was driving. Something that is very comfortable, going 101, Bentley, Range Rover, whatever. Like, what does that even have to do with anything? Is he suggesting that rich people deserve different treatment when they break the law? Or is he trying to paint Shedeur as some spoiled rich kid who thinks the rules don't apply to him? The hypocrisy is absolutely staggering, and I'm not even done breaking this down yet. You want to know what really exposes the bias here? It's the way Gottlieb tries to justify his double standard. He literally admits that he's judging these two athletes differently based on their reputation. Listen to this logic. He says we all have some sort of PR reputation, and then gives this weird analogy about his colleague Dan playing hooky to go golf. His point is that if Dan got caught lying about being sick to play golf, people would say, yeah, that makes sense because Dan has a reputation as a golf GUI.so. By this twisted logic, Shedeur Sanders' speeding surprises nobody and feeds into the idea of entitlement because he has a reputation. Let me ask you something. When did we start judging people's crimes based on their social media presence? When did a speeding ticket become a reflection of someone's character instead of just a stupid decision that anyone can make? And here's the thing that really bothers me. Gottlieb is basically admitting that he's not judging these situations based on the facts. He's not looking at two young athletes who made the same mistake. He's looking at their reputations, their backgrounds, probably their social media feeds, and deciding who deserves compassion and who deserves to be torn down. This isn't journalism. This isn't analysis. This is character assassination disguised as sports commentary.
Shedeur Sanders getting pulled over for going 101. He has a reputation. Surprises nobody. Feeds into the idea of entitlement. Fair, unfair, you have to know that's what human nature does. Doesn't mean I cut him, but definitely points to that no matter what he wants to say in front of the camera, and many things in front of the camera have not been contrite. That feels like more of an act. This feels more like who's Shedeur.
But the most damning part of this entire rant comes at the end, when Gottlieb really shows his hand. He talks about how Shedeur's speeding ticket feeds into the idea of entitlement. Fair or unfair. Fair or unfair. Fair or unfair. This man just admitted that he knows his take might be unfair, but he's going with it anyway because it fits the narrative he wants to push. He literally says, you have to know that's what human nature does, as if destroying someone's reputation based on assumptions is just natural and acceptable behavior. Then he drops this line that honestly made me sick to my stomach. Doesn't mean I cut him, but definitely points to that no matter what he wants to say in front of the camera, and many things in front of the camera have not been contrite. So now he's criticizing Shedeur for not being contrite enough in interviews, for not apologizing the way Doug Gottlieb thinks he should, and then he has the audacity to suggest that anything Shedeur says publicly is more of an act, while the speeding ticket feels more like who he is. Do you see what's happening here? This man is using a traffic violation to justify every negative assumption he's ever had about Shedeur Sanders. He's taking one mistake and using it as evidence for a character flaw that he's already decided exists. And here's what makes this whole situation even more infuriating: the complete lack of context that Gottlieb conveniently ignores. Shedeur Sanders has been under a microscope since the day he stepped on a college campus. Every move he makes, every word he says, every piece of jewelry he wears gets dissected by people like Doug Gottlieb, who are just waiting for him to slip up so they can say, see, I told you so. The pressure that kid has been under is unimaginable. He's got his father's legacy to live up to. He's got haters coming at him from every direction, and he's got media personalities turning every mistake into a moral failing. But Zach Edey? He gets the benefit of the doubt. He gets treated like a good kid who made a bad decision. No character assassination, no speculation about his upbringing, no assumptions about his attitude toward people with less money. The double standard is so obvious it's embarrassing, and the fact that Gottlieb doesn't even try to hide it makes it worse. You want to know what's really going on here? This isn't about speeding tickets or entitlement or character flaws. This is about a certain type of athlete getting treated differently by the media, and Gottlieb just said the quiet part out loud. But let's dig deeper into this reputation argument that Gottlieb is hiding behind, because it reveals something much more sinister about how sports media operates. When he talks about Shedeur's reputation, what exactly is he referring to? The kid showing confidence, having nice things, defending himself when people attack his family, supporting his teammates, being proud of his accomplishments. Because if that's what constitutes entitlement in Doug Gottlieb's world, then we need to have a serious conversation about the standards we're applying to young black athletes in this country. Think about it. How many times have we seen confident young black athletes labeled as arrogant or entitled for displaying the exact same behavior that gets white athletes praised as confident leaders or fierce competitors? The bling comment is particularly telling. Since when is wearing jewelry a character flaw? Since when does having nice things mean you look down on people with less? That's not analysis. That's just prejudice dressed up as sports commentary. And the trash-talking accusation? Show me a competitive athlete who doesn't talk trash. Show me a quarterback who doesn't have confidence bordering on arrogance. But somehow when Shedeur does it, it's evidence of moral corruption. Here's what really bothers me about Gottlieb's entire approach. He's not even pretending to be objective anymore. He's literally admitted that he judges situations based on pre-existing narratives rather than facts. That's not sports journalism. That's gossip. That's character assassination. That's using your platform to tear down a young person because it fits the story you want to tell. And the most disgusting part? He's doing it while pretending to be the voice of reason. He's wrapping his bias in this false sense of moral authority, like he's just calling it like he sees it instead of actively participating in the destruction of someone's reputation. The speeding ticket isn't the story here. The story is how a sports media personality took one mistake and used it to validate every negative assumption he's been making about a young athlete for years. The story is how someone with a microphone and a platform decided that some people deserve compassion when they screw up, while others deserve to have their entire character questioned. The story is how Doug Gottlieb just exposed the ugly truth about how sports media really works, and probably doesn't even realize what he just admitted to. What does this tell us about the current state of sports media? What does it say about how we treat young athletes, especially those who come from prominent families or show confidence in their abilities? It tells us that fairness isn't really the goal. Analysis isn't really the goal. The goal is clicks, controversy, and maintaining certain narratives about certain types of people. Doug Gottlieb didn't accidentally reveal his bias here. He proudly displayed it. He stood behind his double standard and tried to justify it with this weak reputation argument that falls apart the moment you examine it closely. But here's the thing that gives me hope. People are starting to see through this garbage. Fans are getting tired of watching young athletes get torn down for no good reason. They're recognizing the patterns, calling out the hypocrisy, and demanding better from the people who are supposed to be covering sports professionally. The fact that you're watching this video, the fact that people are talking about this situation, means that we're not just going to let this slide anymore. Doug Gottlieb thought he could get away with this double standard because that's how things have always worked in sports media. Well, guess what? Things are changing, and people like him are about to find out that their biases aren't as well hidden as they thought they were. Look, at the end of the day, both Shedeur Sanders and Zach Edey made dangerous decisions when they chose to drive over 100 miles per hour. Both of them should be held accountable for that choice, and both of them are lucky nobody got hurt. But that's where the analysis should end. The moment you start using someone's traffic violation as evidence for deeper character flaws, the moment you decide that some people deserve different treatment based on their reputation, you've crossed the line from journalism into something much uglier. Doug Gottlieb crossed that line, and he did it so blatantly that he probably doesn't even realize how badly he just exposed himself. The question now is, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to keep letting media personalities get away with these obvious double standards, or are we going to demand better? What do you think? Is this just honest analysis or blatant bias? And more importantly, how do we hold sports media accountable when they cross the line from reporting to character assassination? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content calling out the BS in sports media. Because trust me, there's plenty more where this came from.